The moment you start chasing a woman, you stop being someone she wants to choose. Most men don't realize they're chasing. They think they're just being interested, texting first, double texting, trying to keep the conversation alive, trying to stay on her radar. But from her perspective, it doesn't feel like interest. It feels like pursuit without direction. And that changes everything, because what you call effort, she often experiences as pressure. Let's define this clearly. Chasing is not just running after a woman. Chasing is a pattern. You initiate everything. You sustain everything. You escalate everything. You carry the emotional weight of the interaction, and she responds when it suits her. At first, you think this is normal. You tell yourself, I'm just showing interest. I'm being consistent. I'm putting in effort. But over time, something shifts. You notice you're doing more work. You're thinking about her more than she's thinking about you, and the connection feels one-sided. That imbalance is the beginning of chasing, and once it starts, it rarely corrects itself on its own. Chasing doesn't come from confidence. It comes from internal pressure. There are three main drivers. 1. Validation seeking. You want confirmation that you're desirable, so her attention becomes a signal. A reply feels like progress. A delay feels like rejection. A short message feels like distance. Now your emotional state depends on her behavior. That's not connection, that's dependence. 2. Scarcity thinking. You believe opportunities are limited, so when you meet a woman you like, you overinvest early. You try to secure her attention quickly. Instead of allowing connection to develop naturally, you accelerate the process, and acceleration kills clarity. 3. Emotional overinvestment. You assign meaning too early. A good conversation becomes potential. A laugh becomes chemistry. A reply becomes interest. So you start acting based on an outcome that hasn't been established. You're not responding to reality anymore. You're responding to interpretation. Chasing creates three predictable outcomes. 1. It shifts the power dynamic. Not in a dramatic way, in a subtle way. You become the one maintaining momentum. She becomes the one evaluating it. And the more you try to sustain it, the less she feels the need to invest. 2. It removes mystery. When you're always available, always initiating, always responding quickly, there's no space for anticipation. And without anticipation, interest decays. 3. It signals lower standards. Not because of what you say, but because of what you tolerate. You accept imbalance. You accept inconsistency. You accept low effort. And that communicates value more clearly than words ever could. Here's the truth most men avoid. You're not chasing her. You're chasing the feeling she gives you. That feeling could be attention, validation, excitement, possibility, escape from loneliness. So when she responds, you move closer. When she pulls back, you move harder. When she slows down, you speed up. That is not attraction. That is emotional regulation through someone else. And it always creates imbalance. Because the moment someone else becomes your emotional anchor, you lose your position in the interaction. So what do you do instead? You remove pursuit. Not interest, not engagement, pursuit. There's a difference. Interest is internal. Pursuit is external pressure. Instead of chasing, you adopt three principles. 1. Match energy, don't chase it. If she is engaging, you engage. If she is distant, you step back. Not as a tactic, as calibration. You stop forcing consistency where none exists. 2. Let her contribute to momentum. You are no longer the only driver of interaction. If she wants access to you, she participates in creating it. This doesn't mean withholding. It means balancing. 3. Detach from immediate outcomes. You stop interpreting every interaction as progression or regression. A conversation is just a conversation. A delay is just a delay. A reply is just a reply. You remove emotional inflation from neutral events. When you stop chasing, you don't become passive, you become selective. There are 3 new behaviors. 1. Direction over reaction. You don't respond emotionally to every shift in her behavior. You stay anchored in your own direction. If the interaction aligns, you continue. If it doesn't, you don't force alignment. 2. Space over pressure. You allow gaps. You allow silence. You allow time. Because pressure compresses attraction. Space allows it to develop. 3. Presence over pursuit. You focus on the quality of interaction in the moment, not the outcome of the interaction. You're no longer trying to get somewhere. You're evaluating whether the interaction is even worth continuing. This is the part most men miss. Stopping chasing is not about behavior first. It's about identity. If you still believe, I need her to respond a certain way for me to feel good, you will always chase, even if you change your actions, because chasing is not what you do, it's what you need. So the shift is internal. You are no longer trying to be chosen. You are observing whether she aligns with you. That changes everything, because now your emotional stability is not outsourced, it's internal. And women feel that instantly, not because you said anything, but because you stopped needing anything. Most men misunderstand this shift. They overcorrect. Mistake 1, playing games, ignoring messages to create confusion. That's still pursuit, just indirect. Mistake 2, becoming cold, shutting down emotionally to avoid vulnerability. That's not strength, that's fear. Mistake 3, testing constantly, trying to see if she will prove herself. That keeps you in reaction mode. Real calibration is not manipulation, it's clarity. Here's the truth. When you stop chasing, some women will disengage. Not because you lost them, but because the imbalance is gone. And what remains after imbalance is reality. And reality is what you actually want to see. Because if a connection only exists when you overinvest, it was never a connection. It was maintenance. And you don't build a life on maintenance. You build it on mutual engagement. If you take one thing from this video, take this. Stop building connections through pressure. Start observing them through balance. Because when you stop chasing, you don't lose women. You lose confusion. You lose imbalance. You lose emotional dependence. And what's left is clarity. But here's the next problem most men face. Even when they stop chasing, they still don't know how to build real emotional depth. So the interaction improves, but the connection stays shallow. And that's what we're getting into next. How to move from surface-level interaction to real emotional connection that lasts. Watch that next.